How impressive is this?
1,000.
1,000?
No, I don't. If I had 1,000 tongues, I couldn't say how impressive this was enough.
Really?
With 1,000 tongues, I couldn't say it enough, Skip Bayless, because we had never seen anything like it before. James Harden had a 60-point triple-double, but you're talking about a 6'7" guard, goes and gets you 60-20.
Yeah.
And he did it in an efficient manner, and he did it in a non-blowout. They needed every point he gave you in the 60 piece. And not only did he give you 60, he had 10 assists and he got others involved. And with 20 rebounds, man, he scored Dallas's 7 of his 11 points in overtime, 21 of 30 from the floor. He scored assisted on 16 of Dallas' 23 points scored in the fourth in overtime. And they were down. We were talking about if the Lakers could have pulled off what they in Philly, Skip.
Yeah.
9 with under 30. And to come back, and he made one free throw, missed the second one, gets his own rebound, never touched the floor, and pushes it in.
Yep.
Skip, it was unbelievable. Look, and we've seen, like, what Luka did, and we see Wilt had a 53-32-14 and a 51-29-11, and Elgin had a 52-25-10. Skip, 60-20? That's what's so impressive. And they needed all of it. Skip, we've seen guys get numbers. If you remember Jordan when the 63 points, I saw that. I was a senior in high school, but they lost. Devin Booker had 70. They lost. Kobe's 81. Great performance. But Kobe had 6 rebounds and 2 assists.
Yeah.
And it really ended up being a blowout. Skip, this was 1,000. Luka, and I tried to tell you, I wanted to get you on this train so me and you could finally wrap our arms around the same guy. But you didn't want to listen to me. But now the train has left the station and I can't let you get on. I can't let you get with Baby Bird. Nope.
Well, I will give you this. We have proven once and for all that Luka was the correct pick over that little guy in Atlanta. Am I right?
Yeah.
Little Ice Tray Maestre Young. It's not even close.
Right.
It's a joke.
And the thing is, Skip, it's not like, Trey is an all-star. He's an all-pro. All-NBA. But he's not that.
He's not close to that, in part because he's like 6 feet tall.
That's it.
Maybe. And I'll give you 6 feet, 7 inches tall. And I will give you, he's better than I thought he was, but I still got big problems with Luka's game, which I will get to later in the show.
Okay.
But right now, we're just dealing with last night, and we're dealing with Jen's question, which was simply scale of 1 to 10, how impressive. So Shannon Sharpe across from me goes to 1,000, 1,000 tongues. Could not say how impressive this was. And I'll go to an 8 because I think we have to take into account the opposition last night, which was an embarrassment. The opposition, I don't know if I got to get a new TV. I don't know what TV you were watching, but yours must have gold around it. I don't know, because you got gilt-edged glasses that you watch Luka with. Okay, let's look hard at the opposition last night, shall we?
Yeah.
The best player on the New York Knicks is Jalen Brunson, who used to play for the Dallas Mavericks, where he was the second best player and a very key component to the Dallas Mavericks opposite Luka in that starting lineup.
Okay.
So the Knicks land him as a free agent, and it was you could argue, the biggest signing of the offseason, and they went all out, and there was all kinds of
cost him a second-round pick for Tampa.
That's what I'm saying. There's all kinds of phony baloney going on under the table, and here we go. But Jalen Brunson has started every game.
Right.
Until Sunday, I'm watching the whole game, Sixers versus Knicks, and with 5 minutes to go, he comes up a little gimpy. And he goes to the bench a little gimpy, and he does not come back, and he's a little gimpy, and they say he's got a hip. And I'm thinking, well, by this game, Tuesday night, this is his one shot at returning to Dallas and saying, look what you missed.
Right.
And he couldn't go last night. So Jalen Brunson is out for the game, and I was shocked that he couldn't go, so he must have it's a hip injury. I don't know how serious it is, but it must be pretty serious. Then what happens to those Knicks? Same old Knicks. What happens a minute and 36 seconds into the game? R.J. Barrett lacerates the index finger of his shooting hand, and he is lost for the rest of the game. So now you're down 2 of your top 3 players, shall we say. And all of a sudden, I'm saying, okay, where is Cam Reddish? I don't know. He's in the doghouse. I love Cam Reddish. I loved him at Duke. I still don't understand what happened, but he got sideways with Thibodeau, and Thibodeau, even last night, under duress, would not let him out of the doghouse. And I'm saying, come on, you can't do this to your team. And I always liked, I never loved Evan Fournier, but he's pretty good, and he's a smart player, and he's the kind of player who could get you home in a game like this. He stays in the doghouse. So what does Thibodeau do last night? He plays in an overtime game. He plays 5 guys, an average of 45 minutes for the game. 5 guys, 45 minutes. It's the classic case. It's like old school basketball where you're basically playing your 5 guys the whole game.
Right.
And I'm saying, Thibodeau, what are you doing? Because he barely plays Derrick Rose, Jericho Sims, and Isaiah Hartenstein. They play 13, 12, and 12 minutes. The other guys average 45. So into the starting lineup goes Emmanuel Quickley, who had started 2 games this year. He is all of 6 feet 3 inches tall. And then onto the floor playing how many minutes? 46 minutes last night was Miles McBride, a second-round pick out of West Virginia a year ago. So he's in his second year. He averages 12 minutes a game. He played 46 minutes last night at 6 feet 2 inches tall. So you are completely overmatched against Luka because when it comes to guards versus guards, you're playing 2 guards who are 6'3" and 6'2", and they got no shot against Luka.
Nobody has a shot.
They can't bother him.
Nobody can bother him.
Okay, but the Lakers showed you how you bother him. You just take the ball out of his hands, and they did a really good job of it for a half on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
And they're up 11, and
then what happened?
You have to dare the rest of them to beat you because their threes come and they go.
Right.
And against your team on Christmas, they came. They came in droves in the third quarter, just the third quarter, because that was the one where you give up 51, which is the most points anybody's given up in a quarter this year. And as you said on Monday, it may be the most anybody gives up all year long because they hit 9 out of 13 threes just in the third quarter alone. Well, okay. You dared. You kept taking the ball out of Luka's hands, but he did wind up with 32, but that's about half of what he got last night. Well, there's a way to keep him to a low roar. You just say, well, you can't do it. If they're going to beat us from 3,
but
God
let me ask you a
bless.
question. Why did you ever say that about Jordan? Why didn't you say, why don't you take
This isn't about Jordan. This is about Luka.
But see, what you try to do...
Don't even bring up Michael Jordan. He doesn't belong in this conversation.
See, what you do is...
Okay, Michael Jordan's the greatest player ever, and it's not even close. It's not even close. I don't want to talk about him. I'm just showing you what happened here. Thibodeau's out of his mind. He's too proud. He's too stubbornly proud. Stop it. So what did they do? The shame of this game was that the Dallas Mavericks at home lost each of the first 3 quarters. They lose the quarters by, let's count the ways, by 2, and then by 6, and then by 2. And they go in 10 points down into the fourth quarter. How could you do it to this team? What's left of this team? I can argue that 4 of the 5 best players are not even playing for the Knicks. And I'm saying, what are you guys doing? It's shameful. You are playing bad basketball that you are down to what's left of the Knicks this deep into the game because you go early in the fourth quarter. What was it? Maybe 10 minutes left. You're down 12. You're down 12 points with 10 minutes left in the game. And to Luka's credit, he says, not on my watch. And here he comes. And here he comes. And here he comes. But the 2 biggest shots of the game, when you're down 9 with 33 seconds left, Christian Wood, who is a deadly 3-point shooter at, what do we give him, 7 feet tall? Christian Wood, if we could see, just steps back and makes an ice-cold 3 that cut it to 6. This is right after the 2 free throws. He just says, well, I'll save you guys. If you can't, I'll just shoot this, and I will make that. That's a bomb from a 7-foot guy. Here he goes again, Christian Wood. And this is the shot of the game because this cuts it to 6, and it makes it somewhat manageable at that point. And then Spencer Dinwiddie makes the second biggest shot, if we could see this, because it's going to cut it to 1 and give you a prayer of a chance. Spencer Dinwiddie says, okay, I got this. I'll see you 1 and raise you 1 here, Mr. Wood. And that's a bomb. And he swishes that one. And all of a sudden, I'm sitting back thinking, wait a second. Maybe, just maybe, you got a shot. So then they intentionally foul Luka. And now we're down to the play of the game. And I'm going to give you high marks for this one. But there's an old saying in sports that you well know. You'd rather be lucky than good. Well, in this case, Luka was both lucky and great, all in the same play. Lucky and great, because there is no way on this intentionally missed free throw that the Knicks don't get the ball. You have to get the basketball. And 3 of them have fingertips on the basketball. And Quentin Grimes, who's been starting for about half the year in place of Cam Reddish or whoever, Fournier, and Listen, Quentin Grimes out of Kansas, and I like him. He's a smart player and a good kid. He gets his hands on the basketball and can't grip it. And I don't know how, but it's about 1,000 to 1 shot, speaking of 1,000 tongues, that the Knicks don't control the basketball on the intentional miss. And somehow it pops up to Luka, and to his credit, in one quick motion, because he's on fire, he just I couldn't even follow it. It's like quicker than the eye. It's a catch and shoot out of thin air, and he makes it. And then it was funny, Luka starts dancing around like they won the game, and he admitted after the game, I didn't even know what happened. I thought we won. No, that was tied. So you got to go the extra frame to pull this off. Well, the Knicks, they're playing 5 guys the whole game, and they play those same 5 guys all 5 minutes of the overtime, and they're dead on their feet. So it didn't surprise me in the overtime that you just wipe them out because they're exhausted.
But my thing is, Skip, the problem that I have with your narrative that you're trying to paint about Luka is that you're making it about what didn't happen with the Knicks instead of giving.
You should have won this game by 30.
Skip, but you didn't. But
by 30.
Skip. But you never did this when Tom Brady came back against the Legion of Boom in the fourth quarter. No, but I'm just saying, when all those guys, the DBs had a torn ACL, and one guy broke his arm, and the other guy tore a knee ligament, you didn't say Tom Brady did this against backup to backup and backup. You gave him credit. Why can't you just give Luka credit for an outstanding performance instead of trying to find a way why he's not good?
I'm just giving you the facts. They're screaming at you. You gave it a 1,000 against this team.
How many times?
This is garbage.
Hold on.
This is garbage.
Let me ask you a question. How long you been covering the NBA?
I don't know, since mid-70s.
How many 60-20?
I started covering the Lakers in the mid-70s.
How many 60-20-10 games have you seen?
Well, obviously, this is monster numbers.
But
you have to take the facts into accountability.
I want to make sure I'm hearing you correctly. So nobody else has ever gone against the undermanned team.
Okay.
No. In your 45 years of covering the NBA, no other player, no other great, be it Jordan, be it Bird, be it Magic, whomever, has ever gone against the undermanned team. Because if they have, I want to know why they didn't get 60-20-10.
All right. Wilt's 100 points. Hershey, Pennsylvania, came against a Knicks team that was second to last in the East that year, and obviously missed the playoffs when it's almost impossible to miss the playoffs.
So in other words, if you have an outstanding performance, if you don't do it against the best or the second best team in a particular sport, it does not matter.
Okay, well, obviously you have to take into account degree of difficulty, which you did not. You got to address the facts.
It's an NBA game.
The facts are their best player who was poised to have a night of nights going back to Dallas could not go. That's what you need to start with. That should have been the first thing out of your mouth.
On Sunday night, how many DBs from Arizona went down?
Okay, I already said that was a moral loss. I said it was.
What about Dallas?
Okay, why are we changing the narrative?
Because you keep saying you have to take into account the circumstances.
Okay.
I need you to take into account the circumstances.
Okay, well, I have. I did. I told you that was horrible. I told you if I'm on the Bucks team plane going home, I'm thinking, we got no chance against Carolina. I already said that. I said it and said it and said it again. You got to take into account. I did. I guessed it harder than you first guessed
it. But my thing is that a performance that you've never seen in your 40-plus years of covering the NBA.
Look at who it was against. Look at what happened in the game. You have to step back from it and say, how did this go down to the wire against a team? Have you ever, in the modern NBA era, can you remember a coach who played 5 players an average of 45 minutes each in a game? It's unheard of. In all my years, going back to the 70s, I haven't ever seen anything like it before. What are you doing?
Hold on, time out.
Tibbs.
You make it seem like Tibbs always has a rotation of 10. You know he grinds his guys down to the ground.
But this is way over the top, out of bounds. This is so outrageously wrong. You know it, and I know it. You're playing Emmanuel Quickley and Miles McBride. You're playing them 48 minutes and 46 minutes and expect to get that game home. And then Quentin Grimes says after the game, well, we should have gotten it home. You're dead in the water. You're gassed. You can't play at this level that many minutes.
Why'd you go to overtime? You had a 9-point lead with 30 seconds to go.
Okay, I just said you're playing everybody way too much. You got to keep some freshness going here. For once, you got to let Evan Fournier out of the doghouse. He's a smart player. He's an international player. He knows how to get games home. He makes smart plays. Listen, Cam Reddish, on pure talent, He's top 4 on this team. I love Cam Reddish. I don't know what's happened to Cam Reddish. Now they're talking about trading Cam Reddish.
I just know this. Since I've been doing this show with you, there have been other great performances in other sports, and you've never diminished them and talk about who wasn't there or they played this many minutes. You've never done that. It's just that you have this thing about Luka where you don't think Luka is good, and he keeps proving you wrong.
I didn't say he's not good.
Skip, this is the first time you ever gave him.
Well, he's a below-average three-point shooter, and he's a worse free throw shooter.
So what about 20?
Well, don't laugh. Tell me I'm wrong. Am I lying about that?
60,
Don't tell me I'm wrong.
60-20.
Tell me I'm wrong.
60-20-10.
Okay. It's great. It's great. It's monster numbers against a G League team.
But here's the thing. You see, instead of just giving the man kudos, you pick, well, he's a below-average free throw. Was he below average last night? Was he a below-average free throw shooter last night?
He missed 6.
Was he below?
Yes, he was. Yes, he was. Joel Embiid. I watched him last night. He makes 13 of 14.
Did they win?
He's 7 feet tall. No, they did not.
Okay, so what are we talking?
He scored 45 points.
Is it more than 60?
No.
He scored 45 in a loss.
I'll take Joel Embiid over Luka any day or night. Thank you very much.
Did he win?
Thank you very much.
Did he win? No. Do you see what you do? Now you talk about
anything.
You talk about, well, I'll take this guy over him. I'll take the no. This is about this performance last night.
Wait a second. So you go to Tom Brady, you go to Michael Jordan, then you say it's about this.
No, because I'm saying what you do is that when Luka had a great performance, you try to diminish it by talking about who was on the other side, something you never done with Tom.
What are you talking about? I just did it with Arizona. I did it and did it and did it to death.
Thanks for watching, Undisputed fans. Subscribe here to get the very latest from Skip and Shannon. Plus, go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.